Hello, welcome everyone. My name is Janet. I'm working through the King James's Bible. Today we start the book of Samuel, which is broken into two books. So we're starting with the first book itself. It's understood that Samuel wrote some of this book, but they don't know who finished it off because it does cover his life afterwards. So we will start with this book. If you're ready, want to find out more, then stay tuned. So we begin with chapter 1, and it starts with a man by the name of Elkanah, who lives in the Ephraim mountains, and he's part of the Levite tribe. So he's part of that priesthood lineage. Now he has two wives. One wife is named Hannah, and the other is named Peninnah. Now Hannah is barren. She is not able to have children, whereas Peninnah, she can have children. Now each year, Elkanah goes up to Silho, which is where the tabernacle is, and he prays and worships the Lord. He brings sacrifices every year with his family. So he brings Hannah and he brings Peninnah and her children, and they worship the Lord. Now during these offerings, they have food to eat themselves, and he gives the biggest portion to Hannah because he loves her so much. Whereas Peninnah gives her enough, but just not as big. And Peninnah is sort of a rival to Hannah. She sort of ridicules her. She's really nasty to her. So I imagine it was a difficult time for Hannah to be there every year, to sit amongst, his whole family in this way, and to have this woman, Peninnah, kind of being really nasty towards her. So Elkanah, he asks his wife Hannah, why is she so sad? He doesn't seem to understand that not having children should make her this sad. And I mean, it's something that most women want to have children, whereas she wasn't able to do it. So her craving for children was really deep inside of her, and he was sort of saying, am I not enough? Am I not like worth 10 sons? So Hannah, after this meal, she goes around to the tabernacle and she prays to the Lord to give her a son. She vows to him that she will give up her son to him if he will only just give her a son. And she's like mouthing this prayer, and the priest Eli sees her, and he can just see her mouthing words. He can't hear anything, and he thinks she's drunk. So he goes to her, what have you been drinking? And she says, look, I'm not drunk. I've just been pouring my soul out to the Lord because I'm so sad, and explains why. And he says, listen, your petition to the Lord will be heard, and peace be with you, and the Lord will grant you what you've wished for. So this really lifts Hannah's heart, and then she returns home with her husband back to Ramah, which is where they live. And not long after returning home, Hannah conceives a son, and she calls him Samuel. And the reason for that is because she said she asked for him from the Lord. Now remember, her vow was to give up her son to the Lord once he's born. But on the first year, they go up every year, remember, the whole family, to offer sacrifice and just gratitude to the Lord. And on the first year, she doesn't take Samuel up there. She weans him first. So she has him for that first period of his life. And then once he's weaned, she takes him up to the Lord and gives him to Eli the priest, saying, she'd made this vow with the Lord, and now she was passing her son over, which must have been so difficult for her. But that strength in her, that vow that she'd made, was why she knew this had all taken place, and so she did as she vowed. And then they worship the Lord, and this closes chapter 1. Now in chapter 2, it starts with Hannah giving a really long prayer, which I will detail under this video so you can read it there yourself. And basically the prayer covers giving thanks and praise to the Lord. She's giving a message to arrogant people, and she talks about strength and weakness and her confidence in God and the future. So it covers all of that. A brilliant prayer, which you can, like I say, read under this video. Then her husband leaves his son Samuel, so does she, leaves her son with the priest, and they return home to Ramah. Now sadly we learn that Eli the priest, his sons, who would be next in line to become priests, are corrupt. They do not know the Lord. We hear of them taking extra portion because they didn't earn a wage. They were given portions already from the burnt offerings, but they were taking more than they were actually meant to take. They were not following the book of laws that Moses had written down, how that tabernacle was meant to operate. They were not following those rules. And then we hear that Samuel starts to minister there. So he's still very young and he has this ephod, which is what a priest wore. He had a linen ephod, and his mother, Hannah, would come up and see him every year and she would bring him a robe. So it's like she really loved him and just always kept that connection with him. And the Lord blesses Hannah for bringing Samuel to him. And by doing so, she ends up having 3 sons and 2 daughters. So she is well gifted, but obviously still loves her firstborn and constantly comes and sees him at the tabernacle. Meanwhile, Eli's sons, the priests, they are sleeping with the women who come to the tabernacle, who are quite vulnerable. They are sleeping with them. And Eli is starting to get very old, so it won't be long before he will no longer be able to minister in the tabernacle. So with this in mind, Eli says to his sons, you can't be going on like this. This is not right. You shouldn't be doing these things. You look bad on the people. You're not following God's law. He's trying to get them to rein them in, but it's too late. They're out of an age now where they're not listening. They don't care. And he should have really took more stronger action earlier on. They have just gone down that path, and God has let go of them and allowed them sort of to create their own destruction. So they're not listening to God, and God desires to kill them, and he wants to lift Samuel up into that stature before the Lord. So the next part in this story is a man of God comes to the house of Eli, and he lays down really what is going to happen. He first explains that the tabernacle, how it was built from Aaron. He was the first in line to be priest. His lineage would be priest. They had strict rules to follow, and that they are not following them, sort of making it evidently clear. They know what's been going on, and they know what should have been taken place, and they have not been following that. So their arms are to be cut off, not literally, but meaning that they will be powerless now. They are taking away their priestly gifts. They will no longer be gifted in that side of the family. It's all going. Instead, another line of Aaron's lineage would take up the rank of priesthood. That's what he's saying. Somebody else is going to take that place. They'll no longer be blessed, and really their lives are going to be going down, down, down. And then a bold promise is made from the Lord to Eli, saying that his 2 sons, Hophni and Phinehas, are to die on the same day. He'll then raise up another priest and build a house for them, and he will be blessed, this priest. And everyone in his family are going to bow down to this priest, and they'll be begging for silver and bread from him. So they're going to become beggars, really. He's going to lose his 2 sons. So it's not a great outlook at all for Eli for what's happened. This is what is going to come to pass. And we close chapter 2 with this story. So in chapter 3 we see Samuel starting to, minister. He's still very young. He's ministering to the Lord before Eli. So Eli's still priest. And God's words were rare during this time period, because it's obviously the time of the judges. So when the God did speak, it was more about a judgment, rather than a blessing, because not many people were really following God's path. And it says, now it came to pass that God spoke to Samuel, and it was just before dawn. So he's in bed and it's still dark, but it's starting to, get light. And he calls Samuel's name. And Samuel says, "Here I am." But he doesn't say it to the Lord, because he doesn't realize it's the Lord speaking to him. He goes to Eli. And Eli's in bed saying, "I never said anything, go back to bed." And then he hears the Lord's voice again, "Samuel." So he gets up and goes to Eli. "Here I am." He said, "Look, I didn't say anything. Will you go back to bed?" Then on the 3rd time, he hears him again, "Samuel." And he goes back to, "Look, I did hear you. You called my name. Here I am." So Eli realizes, wow, it must be the Lord. And he says, "Look, go back to bed. When you hear his voice again, say, 'Lord, here I am, your servant. I hear you.'" So that's what happens. Samuel, Samuel, Samuel. "The Lord, I hear you." And then God comes out and he tells Samuel of the promise that he'd made to Eli. So he's letting him know that, his two sons are going to die. At the same time, they're not going to follow on in this priesthood, that they have gone against the Lord. And so it's all coming to pass. That is what is to be for Eli's family lineage. And Samuel wakes up the next day and he's a bit afraid to tell Eli this news. It's not good news. He doesn't really want to, explain it to him, but he gets up and goes in, and then Eli says to him, "Okay, well, what did the Lord say to you? Come on, tell me." So he's asked him outright, so Samuel tells him, "This is what the Lord has said." And Eli tells him, let him do what seems good to him. So Eli is like letting go, isn't he? He knows what his sons have done is wrong, and he is allowing now God to take his stand and lead a new generation of priests to take over, to sort of bring it to the place where it should be. So Samuel then grows up and he is known from Dan to Beersheba that he is a prophet of the Lord. And we end with this chapter 3 with the Lord appearing again in Shiloh, which is where this tabernacle is, and he reveals himself to Samuel by the word of the Lord. And we will find out what all that is about in the next chapters tomorrow. So I hope to see you there. Thanks for being here. Take care. See you again soon. Bye.